My name is Akil Mahmoud. I'm from Birmingham, born and raised. I studied locally in Saltley School, which is in Bawdsey Green, and then in a college in Birmingham also. And then for university, I actually traveled to Saudi Arabia in the city of Medina, and I was there for about 7 years. I deal a lot with children because I'm a teacher. You'll have students who come to me and they'll be stressed about the exams and the pressure on them from their parents, from their family. They expect you to excel in school. They expect you to do well academically. And sometimes it could be for selfish reasons, to make sure that you don't embarrass the family or put the family to shame. Keeping up with the Joneses, making sure that, the reputation of the family is kind of upheld and you don't tarnish their reputation. Culturally, there is that expectation. And of course, that's harmful because it can cause resentment, it can cause anger. And there's been cases of children running away from home as a result of just feeling that stress and that pressure. So mentally, it can have a very, very big impact. There's been cases of students who are just crying because they're so anxious, they're so stressed. They're not sure about how they're going to do in their exams. So yeah, it does affect them. I do have students who approach me and they'll ask me questions and they'll try to confide in me, asking for like an Islamic perspective about mental health and advice on what they can do, how they can overcome those things, feelings of anxiety and stress. I've had cases of people coming to me and asking me that they have suicidal thoughts and they've contemplated suicide. And so I do have a background in counseling, so I would approach them and I would kind of, try to talk to them and give them that time to be able to open up and try to help them in any way that I could. People who've had issues with their families, with their parents, and so they'll approach me and they'll kind of confide in me. They have problems socializing and they end up withdrawing from everyone, even their parents, and so they'll spend time away from their homes, away from their parents. Maybe they'll go to the cinema or they'll go somewhere else, and they'll spend their whole days outside of their homes because they just don't want to be around other people. People do approach and ask about mental health, but normally it's privately. So they won't ask it in public, they won't ask in front of other people. They'll ask privately about mental health, about loneliness, about feeling depressed, etc. So it's not really the case that it's something that everyone's kind of comfortable discussing and talking about. In Islam, there is no kind of taboo with regards to mental health or showing affection and showing emotion. Culturally, it's not always the case. You may have certain families from the South Asian culture, from the Pakistani culture, who may be quite open, but generally speaking, culturally, there is that kind of taboo with mental health. And I don't think it's just the Muslim community or the South Asian community specifically, or the Somali community or the Arab community. I think it's a general thing, especially amongst men. Men kind of tend to stay away from talking about their emotions and being asked about or telling others how they feel. It's just not something that they're comfortable with. Some of the ideas or perceptions that people might have about the Muslim community with regards to mental health is possibly or one extreme or the other. Depends on your background. It depends on the kind of family that you're from. The father might be working, he might be busy with providing for his family. The mother, for example, will be staying at home taking care of the children. There's not really that time to be able to engage in discussing feelings because everyone's so busy in their own kind of capacity. From the outside, I think there might be this perception that mental health is something that's not discussed in the Muslim community. The society does put pressure on young people today, especially as a result of social media, expectations, and a person's image online. You see other people online and they have pictures of themselves in beautiful locations and they look happy, and obviously that's just a snapshot of their lives. It's literally a couple of seconds of their lives. They kind of feel like they have to, as a result of peer pressure, look a certain way and behave a certain way, and that can lead to them becoming anxious and stressed and depressed, essentially. There's a way to educate children, and it's all about being merciful to the youth and to our young, and making sure that, most importantly, that they understand the principles and the Islamic values, as opposed to just enforcing things on them without making them realize and understand and making them educated in their faith. so that there's kind of meaning behind the actions that they're doing, the acts of worship and the values that we're trying to instill in them. Sometimes the youth can feel like they're being forced to do things that maybe they don't want to do, or most of the time it's because they don't understand why they're doing certain things. The way children are raised, the way children are educated, sometimes it could be productive, sometimes it could be good, sometimes it's more open, sometimes it's more enforced. And of course, sometimes parents have the habit of educating and treating their children the way their parents educated them and raised them. But of course, we have to remember that the youth today aren't going through the same issues that we went through when we were younger. So as times change, the way you approach the youth and the things that you tell them and the way you talk to them and the issues that you have to tackle and deal with and the way you educate them is going to change. Well, anyone who's from an ethnic community, they can always approach trusted people in their communities for advice on mental health, people they trust from their family members, relatives, neighbors. I know there are many mosques where if you do go there, there will be people there, imams and other people who will help and try to cater to the issues that you might be having. Islamic organizations that can help with regards to counseling, offering help if a person is going through any kinds of mental health issues. Also, you can ask your local GP because mental health is something which the NHS recognizes as, an illness. Just as a physical illness can affect the body, a mental illness can affect the mind, it can affect one's heart. So, you can approach your GP and you can ask them for help and advice, and I'm sure they'll forward you to the relevant people who can aid and assist in that. People can get support from the Birmingham Mind Helpline. It's a 24-hour helpline. They also have a language line and a web chat for diverse ethnic communities.